From Saturday garden chores, I've been picking choke cherries. I've got my bucket ready because that first potato bag over there is done. So I'll be digging up some potatoes after I chat with you. And I want to talk today about, I put up a YouTube short earlier in the week about how much work gardening is, and the fact that my neighbor and I, who we've known each other since we were newborns. We both live in our childhood homes, and his parents passed away, and he was helping care for his parents, and so he just sort of landed there and he stayed after his parents passed away. Whereas my mom moved to Florida 10 years ago, and I absolutely did not want to buy this house. It was not ever on my radar to purchase this house. But while she was traveling to Florida looking for her home in Florida, I came over here and I looked at this house through the lens of a potential buyer. I didn't look at it through the lens of it's the house that was my mom's and it had all the wallpaper, and I didn't want my mom's house. And so I thought, well, I can change my mindset about this and I can look at this house as a potential buyer. And so that's what I did. And I remember coming through the back door to come into the backyard space, which was nothing like this. I mean, obviously there was the fence and the big elm tree that I show a lot, and the railroad ties that my dad laid down in 1975 were there, but there wasn't any of this. My mom she's still living, is not a huge gardener. She likes pretty things. She likes to go buy a flower at the garden store, and then when it dies, she just goes and buys another one. She has no interest in nurturing many things. She has no interest in taking care or tending to a garden. So she likes beauty, but she doesn't necessarily like to do the work of it. So I came through the back door and I saw what is now my yoga studio. And growing up, it was my backyard. And then in my teenage years, my parents built a sunroom. It was very 1985, right? And the big windows, the cedar planked walls, skylights, all the things. And they put a hot tub in that room. And then eventually my mom got rid of the hot tub. She was tired of caring for it. And she just sort of made it into this sunroom type office space where she worked. She does medical billing, so she had her computers out there and her printers and all those things. And it was carpeted and it had like this 3 levels, like 3 steps up, and then she sat on this big place. I called it her throne, and she could oversee her little world. And so when I bought the house, I thought that room right there would be an amazing yoga studio. It would be absolutely amazing. And so that was my first, like, maybe this is a great thing. And then that building right there is actually a 4-car garage that half of it's a big garage with a lot of storage. And then the other half is more like kind of an apartment setup. My stepdad used it for his own office space. And then also he had a storage room put on the back of the garage that he used for his hobbies. Like he loved air traffic simulators or something. So he had like this whole like setup of he pretended to fly airplanes basically. So that was that space. And so I had initially thought that would be a great space for my daughter, who is an adult with special needs, that she could have an apartment. And so it started to click with me, like maybe this house is an okay thing. And it ended up that building was too hard to get water from. Live on a cul-de-sac, so the main water line is in the middle of the cul-de-sac, and to get water and sewer out to her apartment would have been over $80,000. So it just was not in my little yoga teacher budget to do that. So I renovated my main house and created an apartment for her in my home, where she has like a studio apartment. She has a place where she has a table and her kitchen set up and a sofa and all of her little electronic stuff, and then she has a bedroom area. And so it worked out just fine. But the process and trusting the process when it comes to gardening and comes to major decisions is like there is definitely a trusting the process type experience that you have to have as a gardener. At least I find that. Like, I told you my cucumber story where I didn't trust the process. I had no faith in myself, and I now have 28 cucumber plants that are starting to make cucumbers. So I'll be making pickles soon. which is fun. But today's potato harvest day, choke cherry day. I never in a million years dreamt I would be canning jelly from things in my backyard. Wasn't something I was interested in, didn't know how to do it. I learned 2 years ago how to do it, and now it's something where I see all the choke cherries over there and I'm like, "Ugh, I better use them." I mean, the squirrels will eat them and the birds will eat them, so they won't go to waste, but why not? Why not use what we have around us to nourish our bodies or to give us gifts or whatever, or simply to bring joy? And that has been something, if you've followed me for the last couple years, is really has been a priority in my life of every day, trusting the process and finding joy every day. Some people might see like picking choke cherries and digging up potatoes is not joyful, but for me it is. So you have to find what brings you joy every day and then go out there and do it. And then we just have to remember that there is a process to all things. And when you put the seeds in the ground, they may not even come up where you planted them. If you have squirrels like I do, there's a squirrel just on the other side of that fence and I can hear him barking at me. But squirrels have moved so many of my seeds. I don't know what's what and what's coming up what. I have squashes growing, and if you grow squash, you know the leaves look almost all the same. So it isn't until a fruit starts to grow that you even know if it's a spaghetti squash, a butternut squash, an acorn squash, a pumpkin. They all look the same, and that's because my squirrels are my partners in crime, and they take my seeds and they put them where they think they should be growing. This year's a little different. We've had a lot of rain in Colorado, and you can see like it's middle of the day in Colorado, it's after 12, and I'm in the shade. Like this garden right here does not get a lot of sun. In the afternoon when the sun comes around, it gets a lot of late day sun, but my veggies that need a lot of sun are struggling because there's just not enough. There's too many trees, which I'm not going to complain about. I love my trees. So I guess next year I'm going to have to make some adjustments to where I plant things or where the squirrels and I plant things, because it's okay. It's doing okay. It's not great. So my garden chores today, every day, run you through my garden chores. Every day I water, even if it rains, because there's so much tree cover in my backyard that sometimes the rain doesn't get through the trees to water the flowers and the ground covers and all of that. So around the perimeter of my yard, I always give just a shot of water every day. And then of course my pots and my hanging things and my patio, they get water. And then I give my garden every morning, my veggies, I've got 2 beds, one there and then one close to the garage. I give them a drink of water every morning because our weather people, good people, but Colorado's a little tricky. Like we might have an 80% chance of rain, but that is further away from the mountain. I live right next to the mountain, and so I feel like the storms hop over the mountain like a ski slope, and they jump over me, and I don't often get that 80% rain. So I always water every day, unless it's like obviously raining. I water every morning just to make sure that everybody gets a drink first. And then if it rains in the afternoon, that's like bonus water. I'm not growing anything that doesn't need water. So the more the merrier around here. And then I spend at least 30 minutes a day picking weeds, because I have found if you let it go, then you're going to be spending hours and hours and hours on a Saturday picking weeds. And I don't want to do that. So I usually carry around a bucket with me, and I just fill up the bucket with weeds, and when that bucket is full, then it's good. Like people see my garden and they're just amazed that it's so beautiful, but it takes a lot of work. But I would rather do 30 minutes a day than hours on the weekend and then just turn around the next day and they start growing again. This way I sort of focus on a section, or I just carry the bucket around with my little weed digger upper and pull the weeds. So my dailies are at least 30 minutes of weed pulling and always giving everything a drink. And then on the weekends, even though I don't work a lot because I'm going through my hip stuff, on the weekends I tend to do bigger projects like pick the choke cherries, dig up the potatoes. Yesterday wasn't a weekend, but I had time. So I put this little green bean fence up because I have runner beans growing, because again, I didn't have faith, and I have runner beans going up those trellises back there. But I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll just put more in, not realizing they need something to grow on. So yesterday, my daughter and I built this little quasi fence. It's like chicken wire and a couple stakes. So we put the stakes up, and then on the other bed, I don't have a place to attach any chicken wire, or I'm out of poles and I just don't feel like buying more stuff. So I strung some string across the outside perimeter of the garden bed with some poles that I had already there. And so the beans can have like this little fence to grow up that's made of string. So that was my project, my big project. So today is choke cherries and potatoes. Yesterday was string and fencing. So the weekends when I don't feel like I need to work as much, I tend to do a project. Today I've also seen 2 ginormous snakes in my yard, which I normally scream my head off, but they're getting a little bold. Like they've been coming up through my deck slats when I'm walking. Like I see their little head come up through the space between the deck slats, and that is unacceptable to me. You can stay out here in the yard, you can hide under a bush, but you cannot be near my back door. Like that freaks me out. Or if I'm sitting at my table, I have a table at my patio that I do 90% of my work at, and if I look down and I see a snake there, that's not acceptable. So I've been chasing snakes, feeding squirrels, picking choke cherries, and now I'm about to do the potatoes. And so we're midsummer, like here in Colorado, everything is full, right? You can see like things are really full, but I haven't harvested anything. I lied. I picked 3 purple beans today, purple green beans. So that's the only thing I've harvested. I haven't, strawberries, I did, but I'm thinking vegetables. No vegetables yet. My tomatoes are starting to bloom flowers, which means it'll take a little bit of time for any tomatoes to grow. My zucchinis are starting to form, but nothing substantial. Cucumbers are only like an inch long. So I haven't gotten there yet. I know that in a couple weeks, the explosion of growth, I'm going to be picking green beans daily. I'm going to be pulling zucchini every other day. I'm going to be picking tomatoes every day. And so that to me is like we're in this midsummer kind of pause. Previous part of the summer is a lot of planting, a lot of moving things, planning things, getting things going. And then we sit and wait and grow. And then mid-August through the end of September, it's nothing but harvest and then preserve, which is a whole new ball game to me. Like I've never grown enough stuff to really preserve it, but last year I preserved celery for the first time. I took the leaves and made celery salt, celery flakes, and then I froze the celery stalks for soups and stews all winter, and that's been amazing. And then I usually just can a few things. Like I canned green beans. My goal this year, which is a silly goal, is I want to grow enough tomatoes to make a couple jars of pizza sauce to go with my homemade pizza dough. So small goals. Trust the process, right? I have no idea how many tomatoes I need. I have no idea. So we'll see. So that's my weekly garden chat for you. And I guess the wisdom that I've been chewing on all week long is just trusting the process. There's a lot of uncertainty. Collectively, there's a lot of uncertainty. Personally, I have many, many friends that are going through hard things. I'm going through hard things. And there's an uncertainty to a lot of people's lives. And part of it has to be finding joy every day that you're in control of, trusting the process, whatever the process is, knowing that the greater good will prevail, that goodness will come out of whatever situation you're going through personally or collectively as a country, as a nation, as a group, as a world, as a continent, whatever you want to call it. Just we're all going through stuff. And so trusting the process that good will prevail personally, collectively, and that the process of growth is always available. And I think about my mom a lot, and I talked about this in the garden chat episode 1 about her mindset of I have to take care of this versus I get to take care of this. I'm joyful to get to take care of this. And the truth is, when my mom lived in this house, there was nothing like this. And I 100% believe it was because of her attitude and her mindset that she viewed things that were something that she had to do as not joyful. And that's okay. Not everybody's a gardener. But you can see that when you don't invest goodness into whatever you're doing, you're not going to have the return. So if you're not giving goodness into your relationships, you're not going to have the return. If you're not giving goodness into your eating, you're not going to have the good return. Into your garden, into your exercise, into your water supply that you drink every day. Anything that means something to you, if you're not putting in goodness into that, you're not going to have the return. And so I could certainly be a gardener, throw some seeds in the ground, hope for the best, but a lot of it's the energy behind the hose when I'm watering it, or when I'm picking weeds, or when I'm just out here talking to it every day. It's the energy behind it that makes it this way. It's not that my mom was a bad person or a bad gardener. She just had different energy as it related to something like a garden. She has great energy in other things. And that's something that we have to find out for ourselves. Like, what means the most to you? Where do you find your joy? Is eating healthy important to you? Then put the energy behind that, and you will have a greater return when it comes to whatever your goal is, whether it's weight loss or managing inflammation in your body. If it's a cognitive thought, I want to reduce the inflammation in my body, but you can't seem to get the goodness in the next step of eating in ways that are anti-inflammatory, it's not going to happen. But if you do the work and you put the goodness into eating better, and you find joy in creating meals that are anti-inflammatory, and you really do a great job at making sure that what you're consuming aligns with what you want, then you'll have the return. So I knew I wanted to have a cottage style garden. I call it chaos gardening. I throw seeds, I hope for the best. I knew I wanted that. So I threw out the seeds, I put the water on, all with goodness, and this is a result. So a couple years ago, this was all rocks. All rocks. So anything is possible, my friends. And I will see ya next week. So keep watching. Oh, and then starting August 1st, you can pop in 15 to 30 minutes a day. I'm going to be coming on live for 30 days of yoga. And don't freak out. You can do it in a chair. You can do it on the floor. You can do it in your bed. It's not going to be a big deal. You don't need to go out and buy any fancy equipment. You don't need to be in perfect shape. You don't need to do any of those things, but simply show up. And I am hoping that I teach you a very different style of yoga than maybe what your perception is of yoga. Maybe you tried it 10 years ago and it was like the worst experience of your life. Pop on, because I'm putting it out there that I can shift your perspective, trust the process, and give you a connection to yourself that's unlike anything else. And it's not exercise, so you don't have to be good at anything. You simply have to show up with the heart. So that starts Friday, August 1st. I'll be coming on live, and then you can always catch the replay. If you participate in any way for those 30 days, and you let me know you're participating, at the end of 30 days, I have a giveaway, and it's a pretty cool giveaway. So I'm going to pick a random person, could be anywhere in the world, and they'll get a giveaway prize. So I'll see you Friday for sure if I don't see you before then. All right, take care. Bye.